Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Peter, the second chapter, the rise of false prophets. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privately shall bring in damnable heresies, right? So they're gonna sneak in there amongst you and start to introduce those damnable heresies, right? Destructive teachings, false teachings, even denying the Lord that bought them, right? Redeemed them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. So Peter was warning them that, hey, be mindful. Just as in Israel, they've always been false prophets. Likewise, they're going to be false teachers among you. When you go back to the ancient time of the prophets, there were always false prophets around. Likewise, false teachers are going to be among you. Some of them are going to sneak in there. They're going to act like they're one of you and then start to introduce these false teachings, even to the point of denying Yahushua, the same Lord that bought them with his blood. And in doing so, they're going to bring swift destruction upon them. And many shall follow their pernicious ways. All right, we're going to look into that word pernicious in a second. By reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. See, these people will be the cause of the way of truth being evil spoken of. Because that's what they slander the truth. That's how they get people to stray away from it. So the word pernicious, destroying, utter destruction, a perishing, ruin, the destruction which consists of eternal misery in hell, which we know there is no such thing. Destruction, right? So their destructive ways. All right, many are going to follow their destructive ways that will lead on to destruction. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you. So in their greed, they're going to come up with those feigned, those clever lies to make money off of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. See, because the Most High has already condemned them. He's already pronounced judgment against them. And it's not, as it says, it's not going to be delayed. It lingereth not. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, and those angels that sin is not talking about the Nephilim and all that. It's referring to the sons of God, okay, who didn't stay within the bounds of what the Lord instructed them to do. They started to go astray from the Lord. And Jude also makes reference of that. Okay, so as it says, he cast them down to hell, which was this low condition, being subject, because remember, we were much stronger, right? Back then, going back to Adam, had immortality, but the Lord cast us, the scriptures say, ye are gods, but ye shall die like men. Why? That's the question, right? If we're gods, why? Why are we going to die like men? Because of our transgression. See, and that is a part of the hell that the Lord casts us into, being subject to these weak mortal bodies prone to judgment, right? The creature was made subject to vanity, not willing. So the vanity of our bodies that we're stuck in these conditions is likened unto those chains of darkness. And as it says, to be reserved unto judgment, unto the day of the judgment of the Lord. Because at that day, that judgment is going to come, and those that have been obedient and righteous will be made free or broken from these chains, and the others will be judged. And spared not the old world, right? That's going to the pre-flood era, but saved Noah, and the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness. So there you go. So Noah was preaching righteousness, just like we are preaching righteousness, but he was preaching the message given to him of the Lord, pertinent to his time, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. So Peter is putting them in remembrance, saying, remember that the Lord it doesn't matter who you were or where you started. If you are going astray from the Lord, he's not a respecter of persons. He's going to bring judgment like he did back then, how he flooded the world of the ungodly. and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow. Going back to the book of Genesis, where he brought down that fire and brimstone and destroyed the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities, making them an ensample, which is an example, unto those that after should live ungodly. So if you want to live ungodly, look back to what the Lord did to Sodom and Gomorrah to see, okay, this is what happens to those that live this way. Let me not do so. And delivered just Lot, meaning the righteous Lot, who was vexed with the filthy conversation, the filthy way of life of the wicked that were among him. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. Right? They were committing, all types of debauchery, fornication, adultery, bestiality, all forms of just perverse manner of wickedness, and him having to live amongst them, that vexed him. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptation, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. See, so the Lord knows how to rescue, right, the godly out of temptation, out of trials, but he also knows how to preserve or keep the wicked, as it says, onto the day of judgment to be punished. So nobody escapes the justice of the Heavenly Father, but chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness, those in particular, especially them, and despise government, right? They despise order. Presumptuous are they. They're high-minded. They're arrogant, self-willed. They want to do what they want to do. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. See, they scoff at supernatural beings. They scoff at divine truths. You got people like, for example, you had what's this guy, Boozy Badass, I think that was his name, who went on camera basically speaking blasphemously towards the Lord, not afraid to speak evil of dignities, and the Lord is going to judge people like that. You have that in this time, you had that back then. What's the word I was looking for? Oh, it's presumptuous. It says here, a daring man. See, and today they think like they think that's something worthy of praise. You're foolishly daring. No, that's just going to bring destruction upon you. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusations against them before the Lord. See, so he's saying here, these beasts, these brute beasts, speak evil of dignities, where even angels don't speak like that. Okay, even angels, as it says, don't bring a railing accusation before the Lord. Let's read that in the NLT. But the angels, who are far greater in power and strength, do not dare to bring from the Lord a charge of blasphemy against those supernatural beings. And yet these demons, these idiots, these brute beasts, they just say whatever comes out of their mouth, not regarding the superiority of those that the Lord has set up, okay, of the Lord himself, of his son. But these, as natural brute beasts, right? A natural brute beast is like an unthinking animal, made to be taken and destroyed. That's their fate. There's nothing that serves them better than to just be eliminated. That's what Peter's saying. Meaning they're deserving of that. Speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness. So when you live unrighteously, there's a reward for that, and they're going to receive it. As they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. See, those that like to live that life, they love to indulge in riotous behavior. Spots they are, and blemishes. They're like stains. When you have like a very nice clothing and then it gets like a stain on it, it ruins it. It's very, very bad. Nobody likes stains. Imagine you went to somebody's house and they're about to serve you and they pull up a bowl or a plate and they got food stains in it. Plaque. Man, look, But look, I'm leaving. I'm gone. No, 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 no. If it's on the plate, I don't know what else is on. No, all right, I'm good. I don't even want no water no more. You know. So it says here, um, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. Okay, let's read that in the NLT. So they're bold, man, but they're warranting destruction upon them. Their destruction is their reward for the harm they have done. They love to indulge in evil pleasures in broad daylight. They are a disgrace and a stain among you. They delight in deception, even as they eat with you in your fellowship meals. And Peter was warning them about that. Having eyes full of adultery. Oh Lord. and that cannot cease from sin. So it's like they're programmed to do evil, right? The scriptures talk about them being wise to do evil, beguiling unstable souls, right? Deceiving and leading astray, luring unstable souls. And hearts they have exercised with covetous practice, cursed children, right? They're trained in the art of greed. Verse 15, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Basor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. See? So they've gone astray, because why why was he so quick to want to go to answer the call of Moab? Because of the riches that were promised. And guess what? Even when even when he said that, okay, he wasn't able to curse Israel. Once again, whose idea was it that they used the Midianite women to lure Israel astray? So as it says here, Peter compares them to Balaam, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, did evil for money, but was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumb ass, speaking with man's voice, forbade the madness of the prophet, because he was trying to go right on that course to go to Balaam or Balak, and the angel was in the way, and the ass, his ass, dumb ass, meaning the donkey that doesn't talk, but the Lord opened its mouth, as it says, with man's voice, so it spoke in English, or not English, it spoke human dialect. Okay, forbade the madness of the prophet, because it tried to stop him from going, because the angel was in the way. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. Similar speech to what Jude described them as. So as it says here, let's read that in the NLT, but it says they're wells without water. Imagine that. In a hot, dry, scorching day, you go to the well for water and there's no water in there. That's what they are. Unprofitable. Okay? A well looks like it would have water in it. You would expect it to have water in it, but it doesn't have water. Clouds carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. That's meaning they're reserved for complete destruction with no mercy out of it. That's the middle of darkness. It says these people are as useless as dried up springs, or as mist blown away by the wind. They are doomed to blackest darkness. Damn. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh. See, so when they, as it says, they speak great swelling words of vanity, they boast themselves, they brag about dumb, stupid things, but they bait people, okay, through the lust of the flesh. They appeal to fleshly desires. Through much wantonness, those that were clean escaped from them who live in error. All right. So they basically using the lust of the flesh. They lure these people who escaped back into it. Okay. It says those that were clean escaped from them who live in error. So it says they brag about themselves with empty, foolish boasting, with an appeal to twisted sexual desires, which is not just sexual desires. It's, as it says in the NKJV, lewdness, or desires of the flesh, generally speaking, they lure back into sin those who have barely escaped from a lifestyle of deception, because they know, all right, I can get this person. If this person's not strong in the faith, I can get him. I can bring him right back. So they really did. They're messengers of Satan. That's what it is, who are sent to come and pull back people back into the world. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. So they try to make it seem like no, like you got to believe what we're saying. It's gonna set you free. It's the true liberty. It's what you need to have. But these demons themselves are subject. They're servants to corruption. They're slaves to sin. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought under bondage. Okay, so when you're overcome, you're a slave or you're a servant to. So whatever you're a servant to, of the same you are brought in bondage. It controls you. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Yahushua HaMashiach, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning. So those that being escaped from the wickedness of this world come into the truth, but then they go back into it, they end up worse than they were from the beginning. Right? They end up living a far worse lifestyle, being far more corrupted than how they were before they first even came into the truth. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness, than after they have known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. Yeah, because before you knew the way of righteousness, you didn't know any better. But afterwards, now you know better, but you know what's right and you know what's wrong, and you chose to go into what's wrong. You're cooked. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, right? So really, this proverb is exemplified in them, being the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the vomit that came out of the dog, it's going right back to it, trying to okay. And the soul that was washed to her wallowing in the mire, and the soul is a pig. Okay, so imagine that, a pig, a pig, like a pig and shit, and then you clean it, and it runs right back to go wallow up in some shit or in some mud. Okay, that's what you're like, coming into this knowledge, being cleansed, and then going right back into the wicked ways of your previous life. And that brings us to the end of the book of 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.